Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. We ready? All right, it is just after 6 o'clock, so in the interest of your time as well as mine, we're going to go ahead and start this meeting. My name is Deon Jackson, the Chief Administrative Officer for Berkeley County School District. And I welcome you tonight to our conceptual design meeting for the new elementary school in the Tanner Foster Creek area. Still have to call it that because it does not officially have a name, but we do have a site. We are building a school, so we do know the location. We have a conceptual design, and that's what this meeting here is about tonight. As you all know, back in November, back in October, our board approved the purchase and sale agreement, and in November, the city of Hanahan also approved that contract as well. So since that time, there's been a lot of progress. Before I get too far, have some dignitaries in the crowd. We have one of our board members, Mr. Matt McQuillan, representing District 2. And please forgive me, councilmen. There are several councilmen that I've seen. I see Mr. Owens, councilman, Hanahan City Councilman. If you could please stand and be recognized at this time. It's been very much a collaborative effort to get to the point where we are today. As I was saying before, the purpose of this meeting, the scope of this meeting will be limited to the conceptual design, the design of the new facility. Like I said, there's been progress, but there's also been some change. Some of the change, or one of the major changes, has been the actual site itself. Originally, we were looking at 2 sites, and now we are at just the one site, in which Mr. Thompson will get to in a little bit. So because we changed sites, we had to change design a little bit. So that's what we're here to talk about tonight. Again, and this is one of we're having this meeting, and we know just from the progress that we've had and going through this process that this is a very involved community. So this is the first of many meetings that we will have in talking about the new school in the Tanner Foster Creek area. So at this time, I am going to hand it over to Mr. Ben Thompson, the principal architect with AAG, and he's going to talk about the conceptual design of the new school.
Good evening. Well, it is truly wonderful to be here with you this evening. It is great to be working on this site for both Berkeley County School District and in conjunction with the city of Hanahan. Just as soon as we got notification there in December, we started setting up meetings trying to identify and progress this project forward. As Deon kind of alluded to, some of the things have changed on the site. We'll get into that so you can see exactly how we've adapted the design to the specific site that it's going to be on. Starting in December, right before Christmas, we had the opportunity to meet as a group from the school district standpoint, but also from our architectural and engineering staff and the contracting firm that's working on this project. So we grouped together, tried to work out all of the details, hash out a plan, and get a schedule going, because we know you guys need this school just as fast as we can get it underway. So I see a lot of familiar faces in the audience, but for some of those that may not be aware of where this site was, or where the site is, locating it, this is Foster Creek Road in this location. There's Williams Lane in that location, and the blue box is the 21.4 acres that will be the new school site. Some of just the area around it, we do have a fire station and a public works building on Williams Lane. There is a federal property right next to the school site that is planned for in the future to be recreational field. So that will be certainly a great service to have right there next door. In the back and buffered between wetlands and trees and ponds is the industrial development off of Magi Road. Some of the things that we will be identifying over the next month to month and a half are some of the connections that need to be made from Foster Creek to that Williams Lane property, to the new school property. How do we get people in safely? How do we keep traffic annoyances at a minimum? Those are the real things that we'll be doing over the next month and a half. So more to come on that, but we do know that we're going to have to improve that intersection in some form or fashion as we move forward. One of the great things about this site is you see all the residential development around it. There's also proposed pedestrian walking trails by the city of Hanahan leading right up to that Williams Lane road that will eventually tie into the site. So you have that opportunity to have a real walkable school now from this piece of property, which is always a great thing to have. Going back and zooming into the property a little bit tighter, this is the property that is that 21.44 acres. Williams Lane is down at the bottom of the screen. There's the federal property, the future recreational fields that we were just talking about a moment ago. Some of the changes that we had was this was the property that we were looking for as part of the school site originally. We had some title problems with that, so we've looked at just this site as the school site proper as we're planning it. What that does is it makes the site a little bit more compact. We have to deal with the site's geometry a little bit differently, but what we found over the course of the last several months is all of those things are possible. So some of the things that we did last year was identify all of the pieces, all of the things that make a site a site. What makes them unique? Well, if you have wetlands on site, that's certainly something that you want to take into account. If you have wetland buffers, in this case we have both that run along the perimeter of the site, or if you have any isolated wetlands, how do you deal with that as the design progresses? We were able to figure those out and make those part of the design so that it becomes integral to how the facility gets produced at the end of the day. All of those squiggly little lines and dots are trees and topography. We certainly have to understand how water flows in and around the site right now, and we have to contain any stormwater runoff that we create by producing a new school. And to do that, we need to locate those pieces of the site as a result of the topography. All of those dots, again, are trees, especially a very large concentration of trees towards that perimeter of the site where you have a lot of large specimen oak trees. Those are wonderful things to have on a school site, and certainly something that we can incorporate into some of the areas of the school site itself. One of the things that we do know is that we need access. That's a pretty important thing to have access to the school property. So this depicts where that access might be for this school piece of property. One of the things about this access is that it's not only roadway, but it's also utilities that go from Williams Lane into the site proper, and then gives a future connection to the property right next door for future development as that property becomes available to the city of Hanahan. You can see in the yellow pieces that really starts to also allow you to identify the areas in which you can place a large 110,000 square foot school on. And this central area is the largest piece of property, so that makes a lot of sense for that to be located. You do have property divided by wetlands at the top and small pieces created by that easement down below. Again, that pedestrian trail, as I mentioned, would be part of this, so you have that opportunity again with the improvements that we will be doing to Williams Lane, and specifically widening it in this area to have a pedestrian walk along that ties into what will be the proposed walking trail throughout the neighborhoods. So back to the road. This easement now becomes the roadway. It allows you to have both car access separated from bus access. Those are all governed by SCDOT regulations, all those fun things about SCDOT regulations. But this allows you to properly locate the car loop in this location, transverse the wetlands, and also deal with the isolated wetlands in the center of the site with the Army Corps of Engineers. This gives us proper distances between the car loop and the bus loop. So by doing this, we've really focused in and compacted that area in which we're going to place the school. And you can see the eventual footprint that the form the school would take from a footprint standpoint. Some of the things that we do have to always be cognizant of is view. We want a prominent view from Williams Lane, but we also want a prominent view from that nice boulevard style road that we're creating as part of the project. In the future, when this becomes developed recreational fields, the view from that area to the school site is also important. So all three of those sides have to be looked at and considered as we develop the elevations and we develop how this facility is going to look at the end of the day. You can see some of the site features that are just necessary for the operation of the school. This is your car loop, so a visitor or a parent coming to the school would loop around and drop off right there. There is an access for that pickup and drop off right in that location. The main entry of the school is in this area, right there on the Boulevard Road. And then of course the bus loop is in the back of the building and is associated with multi-purpose and dining rooms, those places that get where students get held before they go onto their classes. Some of the other areas we get to tuck, in this case, the large visitor and staff parking lot towards the rear of the building, so those are visible from your three main vistas to the school facility, while retaining some areas of parking in and around the school. So you get a distributed parking plan, and you get the main parking lot in the back, so you don't have that visible from all of your vistas. And then finally, and uniquely here, because of the position of the school and what the wetlands tend to lead us towards, we get to create a really neat and integral and unique first through fifth grade play area, kind of an open courtyard in this area. What this also allows us to do in this site area is to separate out and provide additional pre-K and kindergarten play areas separate and apart from that main courtyard area. That's a very, from a school planning approach, that's a very good thing. You want to keep smaller kids kind of tucked away in the back of a facility, away from main thoroughfares. You want to have large play equipment kind of away from the main view of the front of the facility. So this design allows us to do that. Zooming in just a little bit further, again, the main entry point is here. Remember that the car loop is right here, so kids coming in, pick up in the morning and drop off in the afternoon would have their own access in this location. And again, the bus entry associated with the multipurpose in the dining room area in the back. Main core areas, some of these are in similar positions that we had shown earlier when I had our last meeting, but the main areas in green are the multipurpose dining that's flanked by the main entry by the administration and the guidance area. It's really important from a security standpoint. The school district felt to have that main entry operate this way, so that you must come into the administration area before you gain access to the remainder of the school. Other large core areas, media center is right there, has its own kind of area of the campus, away from main traffic areas, away from loud noises, and associated with this large area, which is the first floor and second floor of the academic classrooms. 2 music associated with the multipurpose room, and 2 art classrooms quite tucked away in the back, so that you have outdoor access to their own little art courtyards as well. In the academic area, we've got first grade on the first floor and kindergarten on the first floor. Remember that this is the kindergarten area for play. This is the first through fifth grade courtyard or playground for those students. There are, since it is 2-story, you have a series of stairs that lead you upstairs to the second floor, where you get the remainder of the academics. You get second grade close to the stairwell, so that they can come in and out of the second floor very easily, and third, fourth, and fifth up in this area. So generally and overall, all the spaces that we had in the original design are still there, but because of the site itself, we were able to respond to that unique site and really compact this plan so that it operates efficiently on this one piece of property. So coming up, this is just obviously the first iteration of this. We are completing some traffic update analysis. We're completing Army Corps of Engineer due diligence items. So all those things are kind of going on in the background. But this is, as Dion kind of alluded to, this is only our first step from not only a design standpoint, but from a community presentation standpoint, where we get your input, we show you how the design is progressing. As we get towards March, we have Williams Lane closing, and then the remainder of most of the year is the actual facility design itself, where we run it through permitting, we run it through educators forums, we make sure that we're getting all of the doors, walls, and windows right, making sure we get TVs on the walls, smart boards on the walls, marker boards on the walls, and they're in just the right place. We had our first series of meetings with them just at the beginning of this month, and that'll progress on as we go through the design process. Because we know that there will be roadway improvements, we'll be looking at those over the next month and getting a definition of what those are from first traffic engineering, but also SEDOT. And once we know that a little bit firmer, we can assess how we approach that from a scheduling standpoint, which is really important. So at the end of the day, past design, we hope to be clearing the site at the fall area. That gives us the opportunity to do all the site work improvements, the off-site improvements from a road standpoint, and then move on to the school proper, get it completely developed so that by May of 2018, we're ready to open for the following school year. So that's kind of our overview. I'm happy to take any questions that you have. I'm sure Dion has some questions. Yes, sir.
You note at the bottom that the core design is 900 students,
Yes, sir.
but opening day capacity is 780. If your construction is complete today, then why the difference?
There are two. 1 second. Sorry about that. 900 students is a capacity thing that deals with the core. So the media center has to be able to handle 900 students. The multi-purpose room in the cafeteria has to be able to handle 900 students. The occupational day one, what the district hopes to do is award the entire thing so you get 900 students at the end of construction. But if there's a budgetary issue, you tend to section off, in this case, 8 classrooms that reduces your capacity while keeping the core still stable at 900. Yes, sir. Yes, lots of stairs. We located one elevator in this case, one elevator in this location. That had to do with commentary we got from the educators about control, making sure that they always have, they're always with the students as they go up one path up to the second floor. When they're not going upstairs, there are a lot of stairs. So there's a stair here, there's a stair here, and a stair there. Yes, sir.
It's like that come up to that road, the entrance road, that going by the pond.
The question is it going by ponds?
The by the road where it said entrance 129, I think it was. It's not. Where's that at? Where's the pond?
Pond is right here. The existing pond is right here.
So where's the road that's going into the entrance to that school? You said all the way to the
This is Williams Lane in this location, and the entry to the site is right there at the Williams.
down in that bottom down there where the pipe drain line is at?
No, sir. That is right. So you see that shaded area there. There's some drainage easements going on right there. We pulled that away from that area so that it would come directly in almost the center of the frontage of the property.
Where they got the power line, the telephone line running. That's where the road goes to running at?
There is a power line out there, so yeah, we'll be relocating that
So
power
the
line.
road will run right with the power line.
No, sir, we'll relocate that power line and make
Are you
that.
gonna be offside from it or right on?
Not sure exactly the answer to it yet. All we know that is that it's there and that it needs to be addressed. So we'll be coordinating with everybody to make that happen, coordinating with the power company so there's no disruption, making sure that we get that power line in.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
To go back to the elevator, what's the possibility of putting 2 elevators in? When we look at it, we know that 1 elevator will probably one day fail.
Okay.
Okay, we need a backup elevator.
Mhm.
We have to be,
Sure. I'll certainly take that comment to the school district and see if we can locate another elevator there. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Besides, the question that I would make, where is it located in relation to the bylaw, the entrance?
Sure. Back up here, 1 moment. All right. So the tract of property is on Williams Lane, up in the corner. This is Foster Creek. It turns into Tanner Boulevard in this location. So it's off the screen, but it's generally in this location down here. No problem. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if the question is appropriate for you or for the school administration, but looking at that road, you are leaving it open where it dead ends to the future recreation site for any follow throughout there. I know a lot of residents a year ago here had expressed for the ingress out to North Rec, and that an easement has been provided by the city in a contract to allow for that if it's so deemed by South Carolina DOT.
Yes, the property has that easement attached to it. That's a 50-foot property easement, or easement that contains not only the road work, but the utility lines, and it grants that access from Williams Lane to the federal property for any future development that the city does, for sure. Do you want to add anything to that? Okay.
Is this information available online?
It will be after tonight. Yes. Yes, sir.
So, school capacity is 900 kids.
Mhm.
When it opened up the school, it's 7 What happens by residential property stop development and the school's out of capacity? It's back to square one again because it's only accounting 900 kids. Why don't we build a school bigger and account more than 900 students to be developed for Tanner Hall and Tanner Plantation development?
So this school is designed for 900 students. If there's a budget problem, like if you can't get a good value when we bid the project out to contractors, you have to provide a way for it to be built inside of the budget. And the only way for us to do that is to take off a couple classrooms here or there. That doesn't mean the planning is not done, because the planning is actually absolutely done. It's just a matter of price at the end of the day. Absolutely hope that bid day, and that's why we got the contractor on board early, is that bid day gets us the 900 students that this school is designed for. Yes, sir.
I might have missed the question when I was back and moved up. But what about the access to North Rec? Is there going to be access to North Rec?
So right here, one of the agreements that the school district and the city came to is that there needed to be a easement granted from that piece of property to the federal property. If you remember from the previous meeting a year ago, we had this piece of property over here identified as a piece of the school site. This one fell through from a title exception standpoint, so we had to identify a different way for us to connect from Williams Lane to that federal property, and that was agreed to by the school district and
I don't think that's gonna work with that north exit to the North Rec. You know, people living back there already, and this back and forth traffic now already. We don't need that kind of problem. And then when the school coming there every day, and then when the school is out and over, then there gonna still be people using that traffic going along. Ain't nobody can rest like that. We don't need that. They got to come up with a better solution that they can stick with what they got. That's fine with me. When they try to open that exit North Red, that's gonna be a problem.
It was just our understanding
I done
to
talked
give
to
you the,
DOT people too.
it was just our understanding to give the option available. Whether it happens in the future or not is a different question, and we'll learn more about it as the city acquires that property. Until then, we have to plan on the school opening with or without, we have to plan on the school opening without it. So we have to make sure that the intersection.
Thought about that, move into place and just look for a school first thing before they move in there.
Yes, sir.
That's what they should have done. They gonna move in now, knowing they gonna have kids and bringing kids. And they jump right this going on in the house and now they want school building after people been living there all their life. I've been there for 64 years. And I ain't going for all of that traffic up and down on me.
So we'll do everything we can to address the traffic problem.
You got your own property back there.
This is why we will have complete a traffic study to make sure that we don't have worse traffic than is already out there. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to say, just for clarification, it would be going through the federal property. It would not be coming down Williams Lane.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, all right.
Okay.
That's fine with me. I said that's fine. Come with the rest.
Miss Best made sure it didn't go down Williams Lane.
Yes, sir.
That's right. I'm just going to know. That's what I can do.
Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Brian Terry, and so what I understand is that Easton right there will be able to go all the way across to a future intersection at North Red.
We don't know that for sure.
The reason why I asked that is I just took a position working with the city, and I actually work with the public works department right at the end of Williams Lane. This morning, the cars were backed up on Williams Lane to the fire department.
Right.
And that is a good 1/8 of a mile. And I actually had to go to Ida Slade this morning. It took me 25 minutes to go from the public works department over to Ida Slade at 6:30 this morning.
Right.
So this is kind of an interesting dilemma is that you're going to put the school there, and I mean 900 students instead of 780. How many people are going to be driving their kids to school? It's an elementary school. So probably 15, 20, 25, 30% of people are going to drop their kids off, not use the buses. So you're talking a large amount of traffic going in, and then they have to come out.
Right.
You know, so that has to be addressed, I think, before you even turn a first piece of dirt, because if you can just build the road out and access there, otherwise you're talking about security and safety concerns because the fire department's right there also, and them getting out of the fire station is going to be delayed and hindered by that increase in traffic in that area.
Could not agree with you more. We have commissioned an update to our traffic study so that we know exactly what that's going to be.
The traffic study that's on the website right now was done in 2014, which is before my building was put in. And then I think it had an average car traffic on that on Williams Lane of 41 cars, 41 going in, 41 going out at peak times, AM, PM. But now with the Commons and Smith Cove, those two neighborhoods both having access and outlet onto Williams Lane has increased the traffic flow going out. And so that's going to be a big concern, having cars coming in and going out, unless you're going to be, unless the school district's going to be ready to tell parents you can't drive your kids to school. So.
And really, the next month to month and a half, we'll be identifying those things. We never want to, and we're not allowed to make it worse. You can't do that for sure. So whatever improvements we do, it's two-part. It's Williams Lane first, and then it's the intersection of Williams Lane and Foster Creek. So both of those have consideration. Luckily, this school site too, on sunny days, has pedestrian paths attached to it, so you have a little bit more availability to move the kids up and down Williams Lane that you might not have in the day. Yes, ma'am. Sorry, take it.
Like the old park.
I think your question was related to the transportation issue,
Right.
right? Those are logistical issues that we're still ongoing. We're still trying to nail those things down. With an opening date of May 18th, we have a little bit of time, and I do not have the answer for that right now, as far as transportation goes. Again, this meeting, we received a lot of phone calls and emails about the progress of this specific school. So we wanted to have a public meeting to address some of the issues and some of the concerns that we had as it relates to the conceptual design. So as we continue to move forward with the progress on this, we will have that answer.
Speak up a little bit, you know.
As we continue to move forward with the progress, with the process of this building, we will have additional meetings to address issues such as transportation and other logistical issues.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a slide of what neighborhoods are zoned for a new school?
There is a zoning map over here printed. I don't have a slide.
So if you don't have a slide, is it going to be on the website?
It's already on the website.
It's on the website? Well, I was told that it was taken down, so that's why I'm asking if it's updated yet.
It was there this afternoon when I looked.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am. I'm not sure of the answer to that question. It may make it more valuable. But you may want to. She asked whether this school would make her property, I'm guessing, have a higher tax on it. Not to my knowledge. Yes, ma'am.
Are you going to continue to pursue purchasing the other piece of property? And if so, how would that impact the design, or how would you use that?
The other piece of property that was mentioned here,
Yes.
that piece of property had title, cloudy title, so we had to not proceed with the contract for that piece of property. And to get clear title, we just looked at this piece of property specifically, provided that we can fit a school site on it, provided we can fit the roadways on it and get all of the accesses that we need.
So you're not going to buy that property then?
No, it's all private.
Okay.
Not for sale.
Yes, ma'am.
Why are we the small site areas?
You got all the
Sure. We did evaluate several locations. You were either impacted by wetlands or there were smaller sites than this.
There's so much noise around.
Sure. We looked at several alternative sites. Either the sites were smaller than this piece of property, or they had more wetlands on it, which complicated the process and the design even further. This one is located near the neighborhoods on Williams Lane, so it made the most sense right now. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Is there room for an addition, as there had been on the first plan for this school? Is there any place for an addition if anything is needed?
What you're seeing right now includes the addition. So it's designed for that 900 student capacity. There are other little spots where you can get possibly more additions in the future, but the size and geometry of the site is a little more restricted in that regard. Yes, sir.
Bill Berkeley, Planning Commission. We have extensive new development going on in the Tanner area, i.e. the Boeing project. We just want to add possibly thousands of units to the area. I would think that we would want to plan or have an alternate site for an additional school if we cannot meet the demands of the community with this school.
A valid point. We just are commissioned to look at this piece of property for 900 students. I agree that there's going to be a demand likely in the future. And as the school district, moves forward in that regard, they're taking that into account in their planning.
Yes, sir. We're in the process of evaluating growth as well throughout the district and not just in Hanahan, and trying to forecast or project where we will need additional school sites, additional schools and school sites. So I do share your concern. As we're growing, as you say, we're growing in Hanahan, we're also growing throughout Berkeley County, and we're conducting analysis to try to project where and forecast when we will need those schools.
Is there any possibility of increasing the size with additional units with the current land structure as we have it?
That was my question. Why don't you just, if you know the population is gonna boom, it's booming now. It's only gonna boom more in the future because this is a very popular area to move to. Why don't you, instead of making such a small school, at least make it 3 stories to accommodate that much more people? I mean, you're already putting in elevators. You might as well add a 3rd floor.
Right. So for several reasons, this one is a lot more compact than a typical school would be. In this case, we have located 2nd grade on the 2nd floor, which is not typical in an elementary school, but it's okay. It can still work and operate just fine from an educational standpoint.
But you're gonna have K all the way up to K5.
Right, so rules are, state rules are, you cannot put pre-K and K on the 2nd floor. The school district does not want to put 1st grade on the 2nd floor, and you will always have those core areas on the 1st floor: media center, dining, and multi-purpose
So you've run out of room already.
So, well, the design compacts all those things together within the existing site.
The design is flawed.
I'm sorry?
The design is flawed. That school is much too small for this area. It's already flawed before it's even completely bought. You should at least add a 3rd floor. I mean, you're wasting money. You're only gonna have 900 kids in the school, 2 floors. You can only put certain grades next to certain grades in certain areas. The design is already flawed before you even start.
There's nobody to be housed on the 3rd floor. There are certain academic classrooms that can only be on the 1st floor, not only 1st grade and kindergarten, but special education. All of those components need to be on the ground level rather than the 2nd floor.
That's understood, and you're already building a tiny school for a large area. It's flawed.
This is a 900 student school that's not presently there, so the whole intent was to get a school in Hanahan that goes for what the city of Hanahan and what the community surrounding the school need at the end of the day. And we all know what's coming from a future growth standpoint. As those things are developed further, that will be the school district's desire to look at other pieces of property.
Hey, can you explain what they're doing with the other schools in that area? So, like, this school is district primary, although that you're moving the grades around too. I think that'll help explain a little bit of why the school is what it is.
All right, so the concern is growth. And please excuse me, I'm not as prepared to talk about it as I normally am. So the concern is growth. And yes, 900 is kind of the standard that's been established in Berkeley County School District, especially with this new program for middle schools and elementary schools. So it's 900. When they first conducted the analysis, they looked at the entire attendance zone, the Hanahan Elementary attendance zone, and also looked at Goose Creek primaries as well. So when the attendance lines were for this school were established, and again, they're over here, they're also on the website. So when they were established, the numbers left plenty of room in this 900 student school. It also left room in Hanahan Elementary. But I think what you're referring to is the rezoning or redistricting of the different schools that will be impacted. Being Hanahan Elementary, Hanahan Middle will be impacted because they have 5th grade located at their school, which the plan is for the 5th grade students to return to elementary school, either Hanahan Elementary or this new school. Also, in part of the plan is to rezone part of this school, Goose Creek Primary Zone, as well as Sedgefield Intermediate. Sedgefield Intermediate will be K-5. This school will also be K-5. Right now, it's a primary school in this K-2. So that's under the proposed attendance lines, which were originally approved for first reading back in March of 2015. I know that was a long time ago. So the issues of growth and the size of the school and the growing area, all of those things were taken into account. But we also know that things change. So as things continue to change, it's up to us as a district administration to monitor that situation and make those adjustments as they come.
Is there any possibility of using any of this government property, negotiating some of that to expand the school in any way?
Not that I'm aware of at this time.
What were some of the proposals to get the people in and out? The Williams Lane entrance? Have you looked at any? Is it traffic circle? Is it stoplight? Is it one of our policemen sitting on the corner?
Sure. Generally speaking, it's one of three of those, and it's a matter of how well they address the traffic concern at that intersection. And when we get the updated intersection design, it'll list the options out from that, so we can either identify the things that will work or the things that won't work. So more to come. That one. Yes, sir.
I think you also have to look at, eventually through the property, onto North Red, what the original plan, what the plan that everybody's been looking at, is to have traffic flow one way out to North Red. And North Red will only be a one-way going, it will not be an intersection, if I'm not mistaken. But again, you gotta give SCDOT a chance to look at all the pieces and put it together and do the traffic study. We have until 2018. They got to count. As far as additional, we have to build for now. We have to get something up, okay? Then, if you realize Hanahan is landlocked, and there's not a lot of property, but there's new developments that still have to come in, such as Bowen, such as Scenic, and a few others. But I think when you start moving the people around, the children around to the different areas, you start to free up and get that additional space. And it is the responsibility of the Berkeley County School District to ensure that we don't have the same problem with kids and trailers all the time. So that, and actually it's not even their job, it's your job. When you see, when your kids, or when you go there and see it, you need to go to the board meetings and address it with them. You need to be part of a team to help make sure Berkeley County is giving you the best service that they can.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I just had a quick question, please. I'm sorry I came in late. Can you tell me what the projected dates are when you plan to break ground and when the school will open?
Our hope is that we start clearing the land and preparing, whether that means improvements to site utilities, water, power, sewer, and getting the property graded out, trees removed, everything prepped. We hope that happens at the end of, or in the fall of this year. As the fall begins, we'll also have a separate area as we learn more about the traffic analysis and the response to that analysis. That will follow a separate track throughout the 2017 year. And then building will follow in earnest in spring of 2017. A full 12 months, 14 months for construction, and then you're at between April and May and June of 2019, opening school in August of 2018. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, I want to ask this question redundant from the standpoint that Boeing and other companies are coming to the area. In the planning stage of them coming here, did the school district take into that under consideration? Were they at the table to find out what kind of young people that was going to bring in when the different companies come in? Because the area now, you have a lot of people who come in. Was that taken into consideration, or were you even at the table?
The short answer to your question, well, Boeing kind of precedes me, so I can't speak to Boeing. In regards to Volvo, I think a lot of folks were caught off guard with respect to Volvo. The short answer to your question is no, the school district was not at the table for the Volvo decision. However, we do know about it now, and we are preparing for it now. But the short answer to your question is no.
And as a follow-up to that, is that years ago, I used to be on the city council here in Canada, and that we was even talking then about transportation and growth to some degree. But it always seemed to me like many times we are reactive rather than being proactive. We want industry to come in, we want people to come in, but don't seem like we're thinking all about the repercussions of what that means. And so with schools that's being built really already outdated by the time they're built. Is there anything, is that anywhere in the psyche of maybe the future trying to be ahead of the curve rather than behind?
Sure. So we have identified that as an issue. And like I said, the short answer to your original question is no, we were not at the table. So what we've been doing for that is, yes, we've been trying to prepare for the growth. We've had an analysis done, a growth impact analysis performed for Berkeley County, for the Berkeley County area, more specifically Berkeley County School District, to try to project a number of how it will be impacted based on enrollment and future facilities that we may need. In addition, we're also strengthening relationships with our local politicians, legislators, so that we can have those conversations, so we can potentially be at the table when those decisions are being made, so that we can be more proactive as opposed to being reactive.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there an analysis done for how many children right now we have that would be coming from the school, or?
Yes, ma'am. There has been an analysis performed on the Tanner area as well as the Hannah proper area. I don't have those numbers in front of me right now. But as I alluded to before, when that analysis was performed, the 900 student capacity for this school, it was more than sufficient.
Any other design questions?
When designing this, there was no consideration to taking that car loop back out to the industrial park to get out to North Red. I know that's been discussed many times the last 5 years with building this.
When we look, excuse me, when we looked at taking that car loop out there, you have to, well, it doesn't necessarily connect really well with traffic from the rest of Tanner, or from the rest of Foster Creek. So it's more efficient for it to come on Williams Lane.
But if you took that car loop out, connected it to that access road, just to the warehouse district, it gives you an access out to North Red. People that live on Williams Lane wouldn't be upset.
Okay.
People who lived on Williams and Tanner wouldn't have to worry about getting in and out. It gives half the traffic a way to get out to work, to get out to wherever they need to go. It just seems short-sighted not to have that access to North Red when for 3 years that's been one of the major issues with building the school and having a curb cut out to that area.
Good suggestion. I'll bring it up. Okay, I have the boards up here. I'll flip those over in just a few moments. Happy to take any kind of individual questions you have about the space, the inside of the school. Glad to do that. We're just really pleased to be working on this site specifically and getting to go on this project again. Thank you for your time. I think Dion's going to close with a few words, but we're excited for this community, for this school. Thank you.
Again, thank you all for coming out. As Ben said, and I said before, this is the first meeting of what I'm sure will be several meetings to discuss the new school in the Tanner Foster Creek area. And hopefully we'll have a name for the school soon, so I can refer to it as its proper name. And this is a good crowd. And again, we'll continue to put information out as we have meetings. Please encourage your neighbors, encourage your community members to continue to come out and come out to support us, but also come out to provide your feedback. We definitely need your feedback. As it has been, this is a collaborative effort. Again, thank you for coming out. The plans will be over here. Attendance zones are there for those of you that have not seen them. And we'll stick around for a few questions. Thank you very much.